I should not be writing this down, but silence is heavier than truth, and the weight of words unspoken is what kills us faster than bullets. So I will speak now on these pages as if they can contain me, though nothing has contained me since the night I heard my brother's last breath and saw the city lights flicker above us like indifferent stars. And if you are reading this or hearing this, then you have stepped inside the shadow where I live, and once you are here you will never walk out clean. When I was young, my brother Daniel would walk me home from school carrying my books because I was too small to keep up and too stubborn to ask for help, and he told me once that fear is just a story we tell ourselves, and stories can be rewritten. But years later, when I stood by his grave, I knew he was wrong, because fear is not a story. Fear is the silence that followed when I called his name and no one answered, and rewriting that silence has been the only purpose of my life since that night. So I carried his absence like a torch in the dark until it burned everything else away. The first time I realized someone was watching me, I was leaving the precinct after midnight and the streets were dead quiet, but my shadow was too long, and I swear there were two sets of footsteps instead of one, though when I turned nothing moved, and I told myself it was exhaustion or paranoia. But when the second night came and the footsteps followed again, I knew better, because fear repeats itself until you listen, and I did. The envelope was left on my desk on a morning when I had not told anyone where I would be, and it was clean, white, and cold, as if it had been waiting for me longer than I had been alive, and inside was a single piece of paper with words typed in sharp black ink: I know what you buried. And the worst part was not the words but the silence around them, the absence of explanation, because I had buried many things: evidence, lies, memories, my own heart, and not knowing which one they meant was a blade sharper than truth. I told myself I would not bend to games, but I bent the second I picked up that letter and read it again and again, because it was not just a thread, it was a mirror, and mirrors show you what you cannot unsee. And soon the mirrors around me began to move in ways I did not, and my reflection blinked when I did not blink. And once I saw him, my brother, in the glass, though he has been gone for years, and when I reached for him he reached back, but the glass cracked and I was left alone again. The city became a maze built of echoes and lies, with voices calling my name in alleys that emptied when I turned, and payphones ringing though no one called anymore. And when I answered, a voice whispered confess before the line went dead, and the word lingered like smoke in my lungs. And that was when I started to believe this was not a stranger but someone inside me pulling strings. And if that was true, then I was my own enemy, and my revenge was nothing more than a trap I built for myself. But still I searched, because obsession is hungrier than reason and grief sharper than love. So I followed trails of cigarette smoke down dead-end alleys and scraps of handwriting carved into wood that matched mine, though I had never written them, and the city kept leading me back to the bridge where Daniel had died, the bridge that split the skyline like a scar, the bridge I could never cross without hearing the sirens in my blood. And one night in the rain I saw the word confess etched into the railing, as if the steel itself had been waiting for me. Every cop I ever knew would tell me this is guilt, that trauma paints illusions and the mind eats itself when it cannot make sense of pain. But I was not just a sister mourning, I was a woman forged in loss, and I knew someone was watching, feeding, waiting for me to break, and I swore then I would not break but bend them first, twist the shadow until it screamed, because if revenge is madness, then let me be mad enough to finish it. Weeks turned into months, and months into something unmeasurable, because time is meaningless when nights bleed into mornings without rest, and my apartment became a shrine of photographs, maps, red strings that connected faces and places that may not exist, but patterns emerged like constellations, and I saw in them a figure, tall, faceless, genderless, the shape of guilt given flesh. And the more I stared, the more I understood that this figure was not a stranger at all, but the shape I would become if I kept walking down this road. That was the moment I realized vengeance does not end with victory, it ends with transformation, and the hunter always becomes the prey, and the prey always becomes the ghost, and I had been all three at once, circling myself like an orbit I could not escape. And so I began to write these words as both testimony and confession, not to seek forgiveness but to lay a trail of truth for anyone who follows, because this game does not belong to me alone, it belongs to anyone who has ever lost and thought revenge would fill the hollow. If you have listened this far, then you are already caught, because the shadows I have seen will follow you too. The footsteps will echo behind you on streets you thought were safe, the phone will ring and a voice will whisper a single word, and when you find the envelope on your desk it will not be my name inside it but yours, because vengeance is not a destination, it is a contagion, and now you carry it, whether you asked for it or not. So this is my last page, my last voice, my last truth. And if tomorrow I vanish into the mirrors or into the bridge or into the silence, know that it was never about who killed Daniel, not really, it was about who I became when I swore to balance the scales, And maybe one day you will understand, maybe one day you will write your own confession and wonder if anyone is listening, but know this, you cannot bury guilt, you cannot outrun shadows, and once vengeance breathes your name it will never stop calling.